It's already been a long winter, and we're not through it yet. We thought we'd made it out of the woods through the coldest and the snowiest, and maybe we have, but what we weren't expecting was to get sick. And that's exactly what we have been these last 2 weeks. It's cold out there, and when you're sick and you're tired and fatigued, really that only means one thing: comfort food. I've had a really difficult time in being sick with finding the energy and the motivation to make anything at all. Luckily, my children did not get sick, and so their appetites are still in full force. So tonight, I thought I would make a shepherd's pie, very simple and humble fare that will really satisfy them and won't exhaust me. We're still eating on our potato crop from last year, and we're going to be pairing that with some ground lamb from the freezer. I love these sorts of dishes that can really be thrown together with what you have on hand. Any sort of ground meat will do, even stew meat will do. Comfort food is really something special, and I have found that it's really different for everybody. For me, shepherd's pie is complete comfort food, something my mom would have made when we were young. The same goes for homemade macaroni and cheese, or spaghetti, or meatloaf, or chicken noodle soup. Very humble dishes, all very simple, all very economical, but really, really satisfying. I love to challenge my children's palates with new flavors, with mushrooms and spicy olive oils and oysters and all those sorts of things. But I do want their palate to have something simple and easy that they can kind of draw back to when they're older. Something that just says mom, something that just says comfort. Oh, I remember when my mom used to make this for us when we were sick. I love that idea. It's very homey, very comforting. I'm really grateful for the food stores that we keep in our house, some in our kitchen and some in our root cellar, because it means that we don't have to go to the store very often. We live about 20 minutes away from the closest store, and so it's a big deal to have to head into town and run errands. So when you're sick and you don't feel like going anywhere and it's dark by the time it's time to make supper, it's really nice to be able to have food storage to draw from. So I'm filling this shepherd's pie with some cauliflower that I had in the cold room, some carrots, onions, garlic, green onions, and cabbage. You can really use whatever vegetables you have on hand. The idea is just to sort of toss them all in together, cook them up just a little bit. I love to use just salt and black pepper and a bunch of herbs de Provence to season this. You also probably saw me add a little bit of flour to the ground meat initially, and that's so when it cooks down, it'll create kind of a gravy. It'll help to thicken that sauce that kind of runs off of the vegetables and the meat. This is some leftover red wine that we have, a bottle that we opened initially before we were feeling poorly, and one that we never finished off, so this is the perfect use for it. think we do tend to kind of hold on to this idea that if we're going to be a good cook, we need to cook fancy food, maybe food we can't pronounce, food we're not really sure what to do with. And man, I just don't think that's the truth at all. I think if you want to be a good cook, if you want to find joy in cooking, you need to cook food that brings you and other people comfort. It's great for food to challenge you, and it's great to train your palate to love new things. It's also really great just to take care of yourself and give yourself a bit of comfort with what you're going to be eating. So I like to make the top of my shepherd's pie with some potatoes that have been boiled until tender, a lot of butter, a lot of good salt, and creme fraiche. Though you could use cream cheese, you could use sour cream, or you could just use heavy whipping cream in place of this. I like the acid level of the creme fraiche, so I always keep some on hand. I'd like to say I could share an exact recipe for this shepherd's pie with you, but every time I make shepherd's pie, it is a little bit different. The general principles stay the same: meat and veg with some sort of seasoning on the bottom, potatoes on top. And this is all going to go into a hot oven while I clean up the kitchen, probably take a little nap, and then it'll be ready for supper. A little Parmesan on top certainly never hurt. It's been really difficult while we've been sick to stay on top of homeschooling and stay on top of the farm chores and stay on top of the dishes. In fact, I'll be honest, it's been really, really hard. And there's been plenty of nights where nothing has made it into the oven. In fact, one night I made grilled cheese sandwiches, and one of my children said to me in a very kind way, "Wow, Mom, this is kind of a lazy dinner for you." And in a way, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that he's used to having a table full of good food. What a gift that is. But it's also been just difficult when you just don't have the energy to do it. So I kind of doubled up in making this. I made more than I knew that we would eat because I knew that I could buy a few more meals out of it. So like this berry cobbler that I'm making, super simple, just berries and sugar and a little bit of flour. Put that in the oven and then just topped it with some buttered and spiced oats. Very simple, not the typical way that I make cobbler, but a good way when you're limited on energy. And I made enough that we could have some more in the morning for breakfast with a scoop full of yogurt and some hard-boiled eggs. So it was kind of a twofer. So the top of the cobbler is just melted butter, rolled oats, some vanilla bean paste, a little bit of einkorn flour, some cinnamon, some sugar, and a pinch of salt, just sprinkled right over the top. I'm very thankful to have a house full of hungry helpers when I'm not feeling well. There are those years that you spend with your kids when they're really little and you think they're never going to be able to help with anything. But don't worry, they do. It's quite amazing how it happens. I may have filled this a little full. I hope that wherever you are, your table is filled with some comfort on this cold February night.